Hey everybody, this is Steven from PopCultureMaven.com. We're back with this week's new comic book reviews. Now I know we're a little bit late. I'm a little bit late this week. I was really sick yesterday and just unable to. I didn't even go to work. It was not a good day. But I was able to finally get over that and get through the books. Finally, it's a big week, kids. So we're gonna try to do this as quickly as possible. Try to not make it too long, so I can get this finished and get it out to you on a timely basis. So sorry about being a little late this week, but with a lot of books and me being sick, it threw a real monkey wrench into the whole thing. So let's get going. First up, we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Usagi Yojimbo #1, written and drawn by Stan Sakai. So what this is. So it takes place in the time frame of Usagi Yojimbo, and he's on a mission with a group. They're going to war, and he's with them. And so they stay in this village overnight, and the villagers say, hey, there's an evil Kappa that is, killing the people in the town, and would Usagi help? And so he does, and we find out that the evil Kappa are like, they're like turtle monsters. So then you cut kind of to the present with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They're going after Dr. Werewin, who has created like a time travel machine, and he gets away. So they follow him in the time travel machine. Of course, they end up in the time of Usagi Yojimbo, and he's like, oh wait, more turtle monsters, more Kappas. So that's how the issue ends. It's really a fun little story. It's very much really steeped in the Usagi mythology, obviously, because it's Stan Sakai's book. But it's really a fun little crossover. What I liked about it is, the story's a little thin, but with crossovers, he keeps it simple, which actually is its best asset, because then it just makes it kind of fun and everything. And that's really the joy of this book. It's just really fun and charming and just a blast. And of course, I'm a really big fan of Stan Sakai's artwork. I mean, he does the art, he does the lettering. I mean, he does everything. And it's a really great looking book. And for people maybe who've never really read a Usagi a comic, this is definitely a good start. It gives you the feeling of that. Plus, it has the turtles, and he keeps definitely kind of the original vibe of the Eastman and Laird version of the Turtles. So that's really kind of what that is. It's definitely it's one of my favorite books of the week. Next up, we have The Great British Bump Off, written by John Allison with artwork by Max Sarin. So what this is so it's think of the Great British Bake Off show, and you have all these contestants, and they're getting ready to do the show. It's kind of behind the scenes, and there's one of them gets murdered. So now there's the show continues, but now the chefs have to figure out the murder. That's a basic premise here, and it's actually a lot of fun, especially if you've ever seen the Great British Bake Off. I think that would help if you've at least seen one episode to kind of get a vibe of what Allison is parroting here with a murder mystery. So it's kind of like the Great British Bake Off and an Agatha Christie murder mystery. And really it's a simple premise. It's a lot of fun. There's the whole cast of chefs and then the judges, and then they're going to have to try to figure out how one of them was murdered. It's a murder mystery. Allison keeps it fun. It keeps it light. There's a big cast of characters, but he keeps it all, organized and everything. Sarin's artwork's really nice. He did the Harley and Ivy, miniseries over at DC. I really like his artwork a lot, and he really was really perfect for this because it has like that cartoony style. So it's kind of like a murder mystery cartoon, which I really enjoyed. It was a lot of fun, especially like I said, if you're a fan of the Great British Bake Off, then definitely check out this book. But I think even if you haven't seen it, it's a good little, it's a fun little murder mystery, and Allison and Sarin do a really nice job on it. Next up, we have Phantom Road #2, written by Jeff Lemire with artwork by Gabriel Walta. So what it is Dean, who's a truck driver, in the first issue, there's a car accident with a girl, Birdie, and her boyfriend. The boyfriend dies, so she goes with him, but they weirdly get kind of transplanted to this like other world. And what we learn in the second issue is that this other world is kind of an in-between world. And the reason that they're stuck in this in-between world is because of something that Dom is carrying on his truck, and he needs to get it to Gotha, or what was it? Oh, Golgotha. Once he delivers that, then everything will go back to normal. But they're kind of stuck in this in-between world. And on the way, they stop at, what is it? Oh, Billy Bear. It's like a diner. And there's this mystery guy that explains them, hey, I can kind of tell you what's going on, but not really. And, he explains that they're kind of in an in-between world and that they have to deliver the thing to the end. And so that's how they'll kind of get out of it. So, there's a couple little things I don't want to explain because it really gives it away. There's a really, really big twist of like this in-between world, and it's really effed up. And, the cliffhanger of this issue is really, really good. Lemire's doing a really great job. I love the script. I'm a big fan of his writing. Walta's artwork's really nice. It really has a good feeling, and the in-between kind of monsters are really creepy looking, and he does a great job. I really like this book a lot. I'm really digging it, and the second issue really built nicely on the first issue, so definitely still worth picking up. Next up we have Superman Lost #2, written by Christopher Priest, with pencils by Caleb Pegalan, and inks by Jason Paz. So what this is in the first issue, there was this alien spacecraft underwater, and the Justice League was sent there to try to fix it. And what Superman found out is it's going to create like this black hole and suck up the Earth. So he has to go in and kind of stop it from happening. And in the process, he's tied with Wonder Woman's lasso, and it doesn't break, but he lets go because he needs to, go into like this black hole type thing to fix basically, this thing from blowing up. And so what happens is, we learned kind of in the first issue, he's been gone in his time for like 20 years, but it doesn't seem like it's been gone. He's been gone on Earth. It's like there's a weird time thing, and I'm not quite sure how that's working out. I think we're going to learn it as it goes along. But this issue, there's is basically space scavengers that find him because his oxygen and everything that he was going, the ship that he was going with, he's like almost out of oxygen, so they save him, but then they find out, well, he's not kind of worth keeping. There's nothing to scavenge. They wanted to steal his cape, and he won't give it up. And so they jettison him to this planet, and this planet has like two parts to it. There's like a part that's like toxic fumes and stuff, but people live there, and they've grown accustomed to living there. And then he finds that there's like another side, which is more like Earth, kind of like Kansas, and it's pure oxygen, but the two sides can't like live together, and they have to be separate. And so he meets Victor, who gives him a suit so he can go on his journey back to Earth, and that's the basic premise here. So I see that it seems that like Priest is going to have like Superman's journey is going to be not just getting back to Earth, but there's going to be stops along the way, which is quite interesting. I really like the first issue. I think the second issue builds on it nicely. It kind of gives us an idea where Priest is going to take the story, and Pegalin's artwork is really nice. It's a really good looking book. I liked it. I think the second issue is the first issue was really great. The second issue is really good, but it's kind of a different feel, but it gives you more of like what he's going to do with the story. So I still liked it. I really liked it. And I don't think the second issue was a letdown. I think it's just like, oh, okay, this is where we're going. And it's just kind of a different feel than the first issue, but that's okay. And it's still well worth checking out. Next up, we have Guardians of the Galaxy #1, written by Colin Kelly and Jackson Lansing, with artwork by Kev Walker. So the best way to describe this is like Guardians of the Galaxy is a like Western, like a spaghetti Western. And they go into this town because in this small town to rescue these people. They said, hey, you need to get out of town because something's going to happen. And so the bad guys come into town, and then there's a fight with them, but they're still trying to get the town people out. And I don't really want to say why, what they're trying to get them out of the town for, but it involves Groot, and it's really bizarre. I mean, it's very interesting. It's kind of like a weirdly self-contained issue, but it's the beginning of like a storyline. So it's kind of an interesting story. I think the good thing is, if you haven't read, any Guardians comics lately, you can just pretty much jump right in. I mean, there's obviously some history of going on, but I was able to read this first issue and enjoy it. Like I said, it's a Western. Kev Walker's art is really, really good. He did the last Predator miniseries at Marvel, and his artwork is really, really good. And it just it's an interesting story. I think the question for me is going to be, this issue's fairly self-contained. Where is it going to go from there? And that's not a knock. It's just like, okay, let's, I like this first issue. Let's see where they go. And that's kind of where we're at. But I think it's worth checking out, especially if you're looking to the movies coming out next month. If you're looking to kind of read a Guardians book, I think this is a good place to start. Next up, we have Red Zone number 2, written by Colin Bunn with artwork by Mike Deodato Jr. So what this is, there's Randall, who's a college professor who studies like, Russian, mythology and culture and stuff. He's recruited by like the CIA to go to Russia to talk to this woman, Elena Salvador, who he knew from the past. And so when he gets there, they're ambushed by like Russian, like soldiers and stuff. And so you kind of find out that this professor kind of is maybe this super spy. And in the second issue, Bunn builds on that. We find out that he's an old school spy. He retired and everything, but he came back at the request of Elena because she knew that there was something going on. So he wanted him to save her daughter, Nika. And so, this issue kind of, we find out, hey, yeah, he's this spy, he's had ties. And the other thing we learn is that over the years, he's pissed off a lot of people in Russia. So now they're all after him. So there's there's the main one that's after him. And then he like says, okay, he puts a bounty on Randall's head. And then it's like, oh crap. So that's really what the second issue does, and it really is kind of an interesting thing. It's definitely a spy thriller, which is kind of nice. You don't see a lot of those comics on a regular basis. Bunn's doing a nice job with the script. I really like the second issue. It built nicely on the first issue, and of course Deodato Jr.'s artwork is really nice. There's a lot of action, more fighting in this issue, and it's really a nice little spy story. It's kind of like honestly, I hate to say this, it's better than the James Bond books that Dynamite's doing. It's kind of like James Bond, but kind of an older James Bond. That's kind of one way to look at it too. But I'm really enjoying it. So it's definitely, I still think it's worth checking out. Next up, we have Traveling to Mars, number 5, written by Mark Russell with artwork by Roberto Melli. So this issue, we still have Roy, who has been sent on a one-way mission to Mars. It's like this food company, this meat company that is sponsoring him. And if they get there first, they get the rights to Mars. And so this, what it is after the last issue where he found out that there was a bomb on the ship that, if they decided to, it's like a failsafe for the company, they could just blow the thing up and, it didn't work out and just kill Roy. So they him and the robots defused the bomb. So he's kind of pissed at the company. So the company's trying to smooth it over. So they say, hey, in your hometown, we're going to build this statue to you. And what's interesting about this is this issue, the story actually is about Roy reminiscing about this. He won't be the only famous person in the town. There's this largemouth bass that somebody caught he named him Leroy Brown, and he became like very famous because he caught him and he put him in a fish tank, and basically Leroy had like kind of feelings like when he would try to catch the other fish, Leroy would push him away, and because he was kind of like a smart fish. And it's really a fascinating story because it seems like on the surface it really has nothing to do with the story, but it really does. And that's what what I love about this book, is that the nuances and the subtlety of the story that he's telling about Roy, by telling these backstories of Roy, because otherwise it's just Roy in space, and we've kind of done that for the first 4 issues. This is kind of really giving more backstory to Roy and how he kind of remembers things, and it really just broadens his characters really well. I really am loving this book. This is one of my favorite things he's written lately. I mean, he's a really good writer, and he's always writing good stuff, but this is really good stuff. Melly's artwork is just really, really gorgeous stuff here. It's from a much smaller company, Ablaze, and I feel that this book is kind of flying under the radar, and it's really well worth checking out. I really love it, and it definitely it's worth definitely checking out. Next up, we have the great Kokju #1, written by Gary Dugan with artwork by Scott Koblish. So we've seen a lot of kaiju, books lately. There's been a ton of them. I think we're seeing kind of the post-Pacific Rim, in comics. But what Dugan and Koblish are doing here, this is almost like a parody of it, because it's like batshit crazy. So you have this kaiju who comes to San Francisco. The whole point is it's, Mother Nature trying to balance Earth. So it comes, and then, so here's the thing. Not only is it destroying the city, it poops out this like, green goo that if you get infected with it, it can kill you or cause you blindness. It really messes you up. And then inside the poo is other, like little kaijus that like haven't been digested, and then they start eating people. And then you discover that the kaiju, one of the reasons that he's coming to the city, is he's horny. And so he starts doing it with this building, and it's like, it's just crazy. And that's what makes it so damn funny is, this is not a knock against the other kaiju books, but they're pretty straightforward. Oh, giant monster and blah, this does the same thing, but like it's total like dark comedy stuff, and it's just like nuts, and that's what makes it so fun. I really dug it, because it's just like, okay, it's another kaiju story, blah blah blah, and Dugan and Koblish just have like, yeah, we're not going to do that. We're just going to turn that on its side and just go crazy, and I love it. And Koblish's art is really nice. Even him, the kaiju hump in the building is done, I guess, as tastefully as you possibly can. But it's just a wild book. I really, really liked it. And the other thing that's kind of interesting is, so the army calls Frank Gray, and we don't know, but he obviously has some like secret, maybe to battling kaijus or something. We don't know, but that's kind of a mystery in this first issue. So that's a nice little nugget, leading into the next issue of this little mini series. So I really dug it. It's a lot of fun. If you like kaijus and looking for something different, this is definitely well worth checking out. Next up, we have Masters of the Universe Masterverse #3, written by Tom Seeley, with the framing artwork by Eddie Nunez. Then we have Warrior Goddess of Shattered Waste, Claudia Balboni. And then we have Twilight of Eternia, drawn by David Rubin. So what it is, each issue has a framing, and then there's 2 different artists that do individual stories. So the first one, the Warrior Goddess, is pretty much a Tila story. I liked it. It kind of is kind of in almost like caveman time. That's kind of the best way to describe it. And it's just with her and He-Man. It was an interesting story. It didn't necessarily bowl me over. um Balboa's artwork, it was nice. It was an okay story, and the art was nice, but it was just kind of like, it didn't bowl me over. I enjoyed it. It was nice for what it was. For me, the really big win in this issue is the David Rubin doing the Twilight of Eternia. So the funniest thing is, and I don't know if he did this on purpose, but he gets all the weirdo man characters together. He's got He-Man, he's got Ram Man, he's got Man-E Faces, and then he's got Stratos, and they basically crash into the Rock of Eternia, and then there's Skeletor. It's a pretty basic story, but you have David Rubin's just gorgeous artwork, and I love how honestly, the faces on the Man-E Faces is really hilarious. I love his artwork. That's really the big reason why I picked up the book. And then the story was fun. Seeley does a nice job. He definitely wrote it for, with Rubin in mind. That is the one thing I am liking about the book is the artists that are doing it. He really writes a story to their strengths. And, once again, both of them, he does a really nice job. It's a fun, done in one. They're all self-contained stories, which I really like. Even if you're not a huge Master Universe fan, these are really, really fun books. So I still think it's well worth checking out. I enjoyed it, and like I said, this one is worth buying for David Rubin's artwork, who's absolutely fantastic. Next up, we have Predator number 2, written by Ed Brisson, with pencils by Nito Diaz, and inks by Belderano Bravo and Robert Poggi. So really, this is very much like the Predators movie, where the people are transported to this like planet where the predators hunt them. Well, what the twist here in what Brisson's doing is it's that same premise, but you have people from different time periods. You have people from 1980s, and then you have people from 2020, and then you have people from the future. And it's like they're kind of trying to figure out, why they've been picked here, because some of them are soldiers, some of them are not. But there's also other, kind of monsters that are in the, the gaming world. And we also, there's one person that has been hunting these predators within this world. So that's kind of what's going on here. And Brisson builds on the first issue nicely. And Diaz's artwork is really nice. It's a good looking book. I wouldn't say that this book is blowing me away or anything, but I like it because I always thought the Predators film was a really good concept, and I think Brisson is just taking that and doing a different type of story. And I like how there's a bit, there's more characters to deal with, but it's the same premise, just different type of story. If you're a fan of Predator, I think it's worth checking out. And I'm having fun with it. It's not going to be the most brilliant comic you've read, but it's fun, and I'm okay with that with a Predator comic. Next up, we have The Seasons Have Teeth, number 1, written by Dan Waters, with artwork by Sebastian Cabro. So what this is so there's Andrew is a retired photographer. And so, but he what it is each season there's like these season creatures, and he's trying to capture the perfect shot of these, for each season, to kind of bring life, color back into the world. And that's really, so what it is it starts off fairly normal story, and then there's this kind of monster that shows up, and he wants to just take the perfect picture. So I would assume that each issue is going to be a season. Like this issue is about spring. So, it's just about him. It's really interesting because like you think it's kind of like a monster book, but it really isn't. And it's just like, it's kind of like a mystery, not like a murder mystery, but kind of this mystery of, how he, why is he taking this picture? We're not quite sure. It's just more of like, he just the perfect picture. It's kind of a bit hard to describe beyond what I've just said, but in a lot of ways, I really kind of dug it just because it was just really intriguing. Like, it was really interesting, like how, it just all falls into place. And like I said, I don't quite know how to explain it in heavy detail without giving too much away, but I really dug it. And Cabriol's artwork's really nice. It's just an interesting book. I think if you're definitely looking for something, like a little different, definitely well worth checking out. Next up, we have Clear, number 2, written by Scott Snyder with artwork by Francis Manapul. Now, this was originally a Comixology original book, and what's nice about this is with Dark Horse reprinting it, they're basically reprinting 2 issues at once. So these are really good deals because the first issue had the first 2 chapters from Comixology. This one has basically issues 3 and 4. So you're getting like for $5, you're getting a lot of bang for your buck because you're getting two comics for the basically almost the price of one. And so what it is Dune's wife was killed. And what we kind of find out this issue is, so what it is Clear, basically there's veils, and then you can have a veil that, makes everything look like the 50s or whatever, people look like zombies, but there's these dark veils, and part of the thing with the dark veils is that they can connect each other. And the problem with that is if like somebody dies, then the connected veils, people could die from that. So they've basically outlawed that, but people still look for the dark veils. And his wife, basically we kind of figured out from the first couple issues, she was murdered. So Dunes is trying to figure out what she was working on. Apparently she was working on a dark veil where people could, kind of share it together, but not have bad side effects. So we kind of learned that in these 2 issues. And, and Dunes, is just following the trail that, the breadcrumbs leading up to, who his wife was talking, his ex-wife was talking to and stuff like that. It's really an interesting story. And like I said, you're getting 2 issues for the price of 1. So that's a lot of fun. I like what Snyder's doing here. Manapul's artwork is obviously really, really pretty stuff. And I'm really digging it. Once again, I know you can read these digitally, but I'm more of a print person, and I really, really like what Dark Horse is doing here. And it's nice that they're giving you a lot of value for a printed book. So definitely still worth checking out. Next up, we have Kroma, number 4, written and drawn by Lorenzo Di Felici. So this is the final issue. So Kroma has discovered, and we knew this from previous issues, that her mother, and I'm not going to reveal who her father is because that's an important part of the story and I don't want to give it away, but we learn that basically she kind of finds out, more about her family and stuff, and how she was, why she's different and stuff like that. We also, she leads, kind of a battle in the Pale City with the creatures she's discovered out in the wild. They're alligators with like 3 eyes. And she also she also found out through the first few issues that they're very attuned to color. So she has these like little balls of color that like have them do certain things. And so, like I said, I don't really want to give more away because it's really a wonderful conclusion to this miniseries. The artwork is, Felici's artwork is absolutely fantastic. And I really liked, he really finished it nicely. And it's one of those where it finishes and it tells a story, but not so much that it leaves it open to another story, but it leaves it open like, it's not, this is just part of a story that could continue if it wanted to. But that's it does end nicely. It does end the story. But once again, there could be more stories if he so desired to do them. But this has been really a good book. I know you're probably not going to be able to find the first three issues, but I know they'll do a trade of this. It's definitely worth checking out. The art is gorgeous and the story was really, really good. So I definitely pick it up when it comes out as a trade. Next up, we have Danger Street, number 5, written by Tom King, with artwork by George Fornes. Now, the cover I'm going to show is, so DC did these April Fool's covers that were drawn by Tom King, and basically they're stick figures. There was Danger Street 5, there was the last Batman issue, and then there was a Joker, and they all have covers by Tom King, and they're freaking hilarious. So going into Danger Street, once again, I always preface this. You can't just jump into Danger Street. You really have to be reading this book because, I mean, there's a lot of characters and there's a lot of juggling. But this issue, so we have Starman and Warlord. So one of the kids from the Dingbats was killed, but we find out that there's something about him that they need to discover, that he's a key to the whole thing. And Orion comes to Earth, and basically him and Starman start battling it out, and Warlord's like just picking up the coffin and gone. The Manhunters, now hunting, the Green Team. So like I said, there's a lot of spinning plates every issue. It's amazing how King is taking all of these characters from, there was a book in the 70s called First Issue Specials. They were all one shots, and so what he has done is, he's putting all these characters into this giant mythology story, and that each issue kind of corresponds with the character, not exactly, but this issue is basically, I believe it's the Manhunter issue. So it's not that it entirely centers on the Manhunter, but there's more Manhunter threads in, say, this issue than maybe the previous issue. But as always, like I said, there's a lot of spinning plates. You really have to keep reading this, but I'm loving what he's doing. Like, there's a lot to take in. You really have to take your time in reading this book. And Fornes is just knocking out of the park. And the fact that he's able to draw all of this and keep it on track is absolutely amazing. I don't know how the two of them are doing it, but this is a big epic story. I haven't read a big epic story like this in a long time. And it's really quite amazing if you've been reading from the first issue, because you cannot just jump in. So I'm loving it. I hope you are too. It's definitely well worth checking out. If you really want a good meaty story that you're going to have to pay attention to every single issue. Next up, we have 8 Billion Genies, number 8, written by Charles Soule with artwork by Ryan Brown. So this is the final issue. So there's only 2 Genies left. But what really this story is, this story is mostly about the first 8 centuries leading up to this particular story. And we find out that Will, the bar owner, I'm not going to say, but we learn something about him that is, things are not what they seem. And now we know why he did what he did with the bar and how he kind of knows about genies. So the two genies that are left, so Daisy has one, and Betty, who is the daughter, Zhang Xingshu, they have the genies, and Betty has been basically hunting Daisy down, for the, because they haven't used their last genie. So really the whole story comes down to the final wish. Once again, I'm not going to say, but considering all the chaos of, having everybody having genies, it was really perfect to have this story just, finish it off so beautifully. I was really amazed. It's kind of an emotional story, and it's interesting because, like I said, there was so much crazy stuff going on, and yet the ending is kind of very simple, but that's what makes it amazing, is that it needed to take all this crazy stuff to get to this, to really say, there's a reason why the genies are here, and there was a reason why you need to maybe not ever happen it again. That's all I will say. This has been an amazing book. I know that there's a collection coming out. It's really good. I want to say, I think Netflix is doing this as a mini series or something. But it's really a good story. Soule and Brown just did a great job on this book, and it really, really, definitely, when the collection comes out, definitely pick it up. I really love the series, and it was a really great ending. Next up, we have Fantastic Four, number 6, written by Ryan North with artwork by Ivan Farelli. So the last issue, we found out when they came back from the other universe that they brought a biological bacteria with them. So this issue they have to deal with the bacteria which is kind of taking hold in this small town. So they figure out that they can destroy it in like one pond, but they're not going to destroy it all. And what they find out that it's a bacteria, so it feeds on, it needs light. So they get the idea. Sue and Johnny go up into the atmosphere, and she creates they need to have it darkened for like 3 days so they can kill the bacteria. And so obviously after a while, the townspeople are kind of pissed that it's just dark all the time. And really, it's an interesting, I think part of the interesting story is, the relationship with Sue and Johnny. They've been apart for a while, and they just, they're kind of reconnecting. And once again, I know some people are going to be disappointed with what North is doing here, but what he's doing is absolutely perfect. He's building a family. And Fantastic Four has always been a family, and that is where a lot of like writers have struggled with it, is that they can't capture that family. And what North is doing, he's building the family up, so when they do go on these kind of superheroic things that he'll do down the road, you have to build the characters, and that's what he's doing. He's really reestablishing Johnny, Sue, Ben, and Mr. Fantastic, Reed Richards. He's really building that family back up, so he can tell, kind of more superheroic type stories. And I really like that. And Farrelly's artwork's nice. He does a great job. It's a good looking book. I'm really digging this, and I like how he's taken the time in these first 6 issues to really build these characters up, and that is what I've been really liking about this book. So definitely still worth checking out. I think there's going to be a big next issue is going to be a big 700th issue. And I think things are really going to be really changed from that going forward. But definitely, I think, before you get there, you should really read the first 6 issues. Next up, we have Batman The Adventures Continue, Season 3, number 4, written by Alan Burnett and Paul Dini, with artwork by Ty Templeton. So this is the second part of the Straight Man story. So they're still building on that. There's going to be, it continues next issue. I think it's a 3-part story. And so we have Harley, who's, kind of disenfranchised with the Joker. Amanda Waller and the Suicide Squad come to get her, not to recruit her, but they need her help. And, once again, there's a kind of a lot of spinning plates. You definitely need to have read the previous issue to kind of get the setup for this. But, we learned that, that the mysterious, villain that we've come has to do with an experiment with Dr. Hugo Strange. So once again, I don't want to reveal who that is, but once again, I always say, if you're a big fan of Batman the Animated Series, this book is amazing. I like how they're doing, you've done single issues, they've done, multiple part stories. So I like how they're building it. And, you got Ty Templeton doing the art. I'm always a big fan of Ty Templeton. He really captures that animated style perfectly, and it's just continues to be a really good book. But like I said, you definitely need to read the first part of the story to kind of get going. So don't just pick if you pick up issue 4, pick up issue 3 for sure. And finally this week we have the Batman Scooby-Doo Mysteries number 7, written by Amanda Diebert, with artwork by Dario Brazula. So really, once again, these are all, what I love about this book is, first, it's a great all ages book, and they're self-contained stories. So what this one is Scooby and the gang are, there's a talent contest in Gotham, and Bruce Wayne is there, and it's a mystery. Somebody's trying to sabotage the whole thing, and the Scooby gang and has to figure it out. Them and Batman have to figure out. Diebert does a really nice job, of melding the two together. It's really, it's a bit more of a Scooby-Doo story, but definitely Batman's there. And Brazzulo he's done a great job of doing the artwork. These are just fun books. They're great all ages book. I cannot recommend these enough because, for me, they're just fun because they capture both Batman, and Scooby-Doo perfectly. The stories are fun. The art's great. And like I said, they're one and done. You don't have to read, previous issue or anything. So that's really great. You can just pick one up and just read it. And this is another winner for this book. That's going to do it this week. Thanks for bearing with me. I know there was a ton of books to get through this week. It's really hard when we have a lot of books. So I try to do the best of giving a review, but keep it moving along. But as always, public service announcement, I get all my comics at Pulp Fiction Comics, Long Beach, California. Ryan Skinner runs a great store. He's a great owner. And then there's Annie, Eduardo, there's Wendy, there's Derek. Really good team there. Great store. They offer discounts on their trades and graphic novels. They have great all ages kids section. They have a nice manga selection. Everything has discounts varying from 20 to 30%. And if you set up a pull service with them, you get discounts on your new comics, just like all these comics that I got from them. I get discounts. It's a great store. Definitely check out their website, pulpfictionlongbeach.com. There's some upcoming things. I know next Saturday, there's going to be a signing of Lon Gideon for the Jurassic League hardcover. So if you're in the area, definitely stop by. He's going to do another Godzilla Day, I think, next month. And then Free Comic Day is coming up the top of next month, May 5th or 6th, I think. It's the Saturday after Guardians opens. So definitely check them out. And as always, really support your local comic shop. Like all these comics, Ryan has to buy them before we get them. So definitely make sure you pick up your books on a timely basis. And get your orders in so he knows what to order so you don't miss anything. That's the other thing. And just like I said, support your local comic shop no matter where it is. Like I said, mine is Pulp Fiction in Long Beach. And, as always, I support my local comic shop. Please support your comic shop because they're the backbone of the industry. And as always, we end our show with be kind. Being kind to each other is just, it doesn't cost anything. Being kind is great. It's good for you. It's good for other people. Just be nice out there. The world's tough enough. We don't need to make it any worse. So that's where being kind comes in. So thanks for watching. Sorry, we're a little bit late this week, but we'll hopefully get it back on track next week, a little earlier than usual. But as always, please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Is appreciated. Comments are welcome. And thanks for watching. We'll do it again next week, hopefully a little earlier. This is Steven from PopCultureMaven.com signing off. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.